Let me ask you something, and I want you to really sit with this question before you answer it. How many years have you been waiting? Waiting for things to get better, waiting for the right moment, waiting for someone, maybe a mentor, maybe a partner, maybe just life itself, to finally hand you the breakthrough you deserve. Because if you're honest with yourself, you might realize something uncomfortable, that the life you imagined 5 years ago, you're still waiting to start it. And here's what makes that so painful. It's not laziness, it's not weakness, it's something far more subtle, far more dangerous. It's a belief, one so quiet, so buried deep in how you think, that most people never even notice it's there. The belief that someone or something is coming to change everything. This video is not here to motivate you. It's not here to make you feel good. It's not going to tell you that everything happens for a reason, or that your time is coming, or that you just need to believe a little harder. What this video is going to do, if you stay until the end, is show you a truth that has quietly transformed the lives of high performers, entrepreneurs, and ordinary people who decided to stop waiting and start building. A truth that is equal parts brutal and liberating. By the end of this, you'll understand exactly why your life looks the way it does right now. You'll understand the real reason most people never change, and you'll walk away with something far more valuable than motivation. You'll walk away with clarity. Before we go further, if you care about your future, if some part of you knows that you've been playing smaller than you're capable of, take 1 second right now. Like this video. Subscribe to this channel. Because the things we're about to talk about, most people only understand them when it's too late. And you don't have to be most people. Think about someone you know. Maybe it's a friend, maybe it's a family member, maybe, if you're being really honest, it's you. They're intelligent. They're capable. They have real dreams, real potential. You can see it in them, even when they can't see it in themselves. But year after year, nothing changes. They talk about the business they're going to start, the weight they're going to lose, the career they're going to pivot into, the relationship patterns they're going to break. And every time you check in, there's a new reason why now isn't the right time. The economy is bad. They're too tired. Things are stressful. They'll start next month, next year, when things settle down. And somewhere in the back of their mind, in the back of your mind, there's this quiet hope that one morning you'll wake up and feel ready, that life will offer you a clear sign, that the path will light up in front of you and you'll finally know, without a doubt, that this is your moment. That's the waiting mindset. And it is one of the most comfortable traps ever built. Here's the thing about waiting. It doesn't feel like giving up. That's what makes it so deceptive. Waiting feels responsible. It feels like patience. It feels like you're being careful, being realistic, not rushing into things. But psychologists who study human behavior have found something quietly devastating about this pattern. The longer you wait for external conditions to align, the more your brain begins to outsource your own life. You stop seeing yourself as the author of your story. You start seeing yourself as a character waiting for the plot to move. And here's the hardest part of that truth. No one is coming to move it for you. Not a mentor, not a lucky break, not the government, not the economy, not the universe. No. One is coming. And this is where most people get it wrong. They hear that and feel abandoned. They hear it as cruelty. But the people who've built real lives, real discipline, real freedom, they heard that truth and felt something completely different. They felt released. There's a man, let's call him Daniel. Daniel was 38 when he first heard this idea. At the time, he was working a job he'd grown to resent, living in a city he'd never chosen for himself, telling everyone he was figuring things out. He had been figuring things out for 11 years. He wasn't a bad person. He worked hard. He was thoughtful, kind, well-read. But somewhere in his late 20s, he had made a quiet agreement with life. The agreement was simple. I'll get serious once things get easier, once the debt was down, once he found the right partner, once he felt more confident. And so, life did what life always does when you're not directing it. It just kept moving without him. One evening, Daniel was sitting with his father, who was in his 70s by then, watching him move slowly around the kitchen. And for the first time, Daniel saw his own future with terrifying clarity. Not the life he'd imagined, the life he'd been building by default. He told me later, "I realized I had been waiting for someone to come and give me permission to live, and it hit me that no one was ever going to come. And if they did, it would already be too late." He started that week. Not perfectly, not confidently, not with a plan that made sense to anyone else. He just started. 3 years later, Daniel runs a small business he built from a skill he already had. He's not rich, he's not famous, but he is, for the first time in a long time, free. Not because life finally gave him a break, because he stopped waiting for it to. The first truth is this: motivation is a liar. Not because it doesn't exist, but because people misunderstand what it is. Most people treat motivation like fuel, something you need before you can start the engine. So they wait until they feel motivated to work out, to build the project, to have the hard conversation. But here's what the research actually shows, and almost nobody talks about this. Motivation doesn't come before action, it comes after it. Neuroscientists call it the action-motivation loop. When you start doing something, your brain begins to release the chemicals associated with progress, with accomplishment, with identity. That feeling, the one you've been waiting to feel before you begin, is actually only available after you begin. The people who've built something real don't wake up fired up every morning. They wake up and they show up anyway. They work when it's inconvenient. They move when they don't feel like it. No, and somewhere in the middle of doing the thing, the feeling catches up. Discipline is not the absence of feeling. It's the decision to act regardless of it. But it gets deeper. The second truth is one most people are not ready to hear. Everything that is wrong in your life, you own it. Now, before you react, understand what that doesn't mean. It doesn't mean the bad things that happen to you were your fault. It doesn't erase injustice, trauma, or the very real disadvantages some people face. What it means is this: your response to everything that has happened that belongs to you entirely. High performers, the ones who genuinely transform their circumstances, live by a principle called extreme ownership. The idea is simple, and it's radical. If something in my life isn't working, I am responsible for fixing it. And not because they caused every problem, but because the moment you hand responsibility to something outside yourself, to a bad childhood, to a difficult economy, to someone who let you down, you also hand over your power. You cannot change what you don't own. And here's the most dangerous truth of all, the one that separates the people who grow from the people who stay stuck. Your life right now is the result of your habits, not your intentions, not your potential. Your habits. Think about that for a moment. Not the things you plan to do, not the person you know you could be, the things you actually do consistently when no one is watching. Those small decisions, the ones that feel insignificant in the moment, they are not small. They are the architecture of your future. Every morning, you choose distraction over discipline. Every evening, you choose comfort over growth. Every conversation where you say soon when you mean never. Those aren't little moments. They're building something. The question is, what are they building? I want to pause here and ask you something directly. Is there an area of your life where you've been waiting, where you've told yourself, "I'll start when," or "things will be different once"? Drop it in the comments. Not because anyone will judge you, but because naming it out loud is the first act of ownership. It's the first crack in the waiting mindset. What's the one thing you've been putting off? Because this is where it gets interesting. Because what comes next isn't more pressure. It's actually the opposite. Here's the realization I want you to sit with. Somewhere in the world right now, there is an older version of you. Not literally, but imagine them. They're 10, 15, 20 years down the road. They have the life that is being quietly built right now by the habits you keep, the choices you make, the waiting you do. And that version of you, are they proud? Are they free? Or are they still waiting? Because time doesn't stop to let you figure things out. It moves at exactly the same speed for everyone, whether you're building or not. The most common regret people carry into old age is not the risks they took. It's the life they didn't live because they kept waiting for the right conditions. There is no right condition. There is only now. And the uncomfortable truth is this: if you don't become the person who shows up for your own life, no one else will. Not because the world is cruel, but because your life, its direction, its depth, its meaning was never meant to be someone else's responsibility. It was always, only yours. So, what do you actually do with this? Here's where this becomes practical. First, start before you're ready, today. Not in a dramatic way, in a small, specific way. Pick one thing you've been waiting to begin and take one concrete step. Not tomorrow, before you sleep tonight. Second, stop measuring by motivation. Instead, build a system. Same time, same behavior, same commitment, regardless of how you feel. Feelings are information. They are not instructions. Third, take inventory of your blame. Where in your life are you outsourcing responsibility to something outside yourself? Identify it. Not to punish yourself, but to reclaim your power. Every place you remove blame, you recover agency. Fourth, track your habits, not your dreams. Your dreams tell you where you want to go. Your habits tell you where you're actually going. Make sure those two things are moving in the same direction. And finally, be patient with the process, but be ruthless about showing up. Transformation is not loud. It doesn't happen in a single moment of inspiration. It happens in the boring, invisible, unremarkable repetition of doing the right thing when you don't feel like it. Slow, quiet, invisible at first. Until one day you look back and realize the distance you've traveled. I asked you at the beginning, how many years have you been waiting? That question isn't meant to shame you. It's meant to wake you up. Because now you know the answer to what comes after the waiting. You do. Not a better version of the economy. Not the right mentor showing up. Not the stars aligning into some perfect window of opportunity. You deciding that the window is now. Every person you've ever admired for what they built, for who they became, for how they lived, they all started from exactly where you are. The only difference is they stopped waiting to be saved. They decided to save themselves. And that decision is available to you right now in this exact moment. If this video made you think, if even one line of it landed somewhere real, please don't keep it to yourself. Like this video. It takes 1 second, and it tells me that this kind of honest, uncomfortable truth is worth making. Subscribe to this channel because we're not here to make you feel good. We're here to help you get better. And that's a rare thing. Share this with someone in your life who needs to hear it. Yeah, you might not be able to say these words to them directly, but maybe this video can. And when you're ready, the next video is already waiting for you. Another truth, another shift, another step. The life you want is not waiting on luck. It's waiting on you.